What's up, YouTube family? This is Jose. On today's video, I'm going to tell you guys why I'm not renewing my Lee County business license. We're done. Over. As you guys know, I had a junk removal service based out of Lee County, Florida. Now, this service, I started in 2012 or 2014 in Naples, Florida. And it was a junk hauling service. I had a truck and a trailer, and I would haul away your old couch or your sofa, or whatever furniture you needed hauled away. Every once in a while it'd be something different, and I would charge about $240 for a load. After landfill fees, I would almost make $170, which wouldn't be enough to sustain my lifestyle now anyways, because we're living a little differently. But back then I had my house paid off and my bills were not ridiculous, so it was more than enough to live on happily, because I enjoy doing my trash outs. So what changed? I moved to Alabama, and there the business went very well. In fact, I would say that I never made as much money in Florida as I did in the time that I was living in Alabama with my service. But since I had to flee the state of Alabama, pretty much run for our safety, I lost a lot of equipment. I lost a lot, really. I had picked up a lot of equipment and tools and stuff that were useful for the trade. I also had some stuff that was stolen up there. So I ended up all the money that I made initially with the junk removal with my good customers, I kind of lost it all to crime when I moved back to Florida. And when I moved back to Florida, it was kind of unplanned, you could say. It's an unplanned move again. The first time I moved, I had plenty of time to plan it. But when I moved back to Florida, it was an unplanned move, and since it was an unplanned move, I didn't really have enough time to kind of get myself back together. But I moved back down here. I bought a new trailer. I bought a new truck, which we're in right now. If you guys have wondered, why did Jose buy a 2500 pickup truck? It's a very expensive truck. This thing was $30,000, a little bit over $30,000 out the door, and I paid it cash. Cash money, baby, no games. So you're probably wondering why it's just an expensive vehicle. Well, at the time, I had a junk removal business in Naples. It was very successful. Enough to live on, basically. And in Alabama, it did really well. And when we ended up moving back to Florida, I thought that in Fort Myers, my business would be just as successful as it was in Alabama, just as successful as it was in Naples. And then I would have no problems finding customers, any of that stuff. I was confident. I even bought a huge investment into this truck right here. In fact, I bought a brand new trailer that was like $6,000. I bought a truck that was $30,000. I bought some other tools. I might have invested, I don't know, $50,000, $60,000 into this junk business when I moved back to Florida. Well, it turns out that was a huge mistake for several reasons. One of those reasons was that there just wasn't enough customers here in Lee County. But that's not the end of it. So I moved back to Florida. I bought this truck. I bought a trailer. I mean, I was ready to do my junk removal in Florida better than I ever did anywhere. I mean, when I had it in Naples, I had a 2004 2500. I bought it for like $8,000 or $9,000 cash and a $2,000 trailer. So I'm thinking, now I got a $30,000 truck, beautiful vehicle to work in. It's even got, brakes that are safer now. I live in Buckingham, which the Southwest Florida landfill is in Buckingham. So now I'm 10 minutes away from the landfill. I don't even have to, like when I lived in Naples, I would have to drive all the way 46 miles and back, 87-mile round trip or something like that, ridiculous, on every job. I don't have to do that. Now I'm right by the landfill. Turns out that despite the fact that my business was very prosperous in Naples, and despite the fact that it was very prosperous in Alabama, in Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres, people ain't got no money. They're just not using services. And if they're using a service, they are bargaining for the absolute cheapest price they can get. It seems like, wow, lightning, awesome. Beautiful lightning show up ahead. It seems that while Lee County looks like a suburban area, and this is kind of where my business would expect for it to thrive, nobody here wanted to pay for my services. Customers would call me and they would say, hey, you know, I got a trash out, and I'd be like, well, it costs $340. Remember, it used to be $240. Now it's $340. So why is it $100 more now? Well, landfill fees have doubled since. Gas is up, landfill's up. So guess what? I can't do a job for $240. And even at $240 here in Florida, customers would always try to bargain you down to $180 or $200, which then you wouldn't have, you know, for $120 to grab $40,000 of equipment and move it for $120. To me, that doesn't make sense, you know. Well, regardless of all that, we thought, because we had great equipment now, we're closer to the landfill, everything would work out. Well, guess what? Phone wasn't ringing, weren't getting enough customers, and the few customers that we were getting weren't willing to pay at all. Finally, I got one customer, a young lady out of Estero, Florida. Now, I could tell that she was from Atlanta, Georgia, because of her accent and her phone number. She had a very urban Atlanta accent, kind of disrespectful, like you would get somebody from Miami or Atlanta or any big city, just kind of Karened out, kind of demanding customer. Now, my business had nothing but 5-star reviews going back, and it was the same Google page from Naples to Alabama to here. So same Google page, 5-star reviews. Nobody has ever given me a bad review. This young lady decides that she's going to tell me that the price is the price she wanted. Now, she lived in Estero, Florida, and she wanted me to go to Estero, and she wanted me to charge her the price that she wanted to pay for the service. And I told her, ma'am, this is the price. You can use my service, or you can call somebody else. I'm not doing it for less. That's what it costs. She says, if you don't do it for the price that I want, I'm going to give you a bad review on your business. Little does she know that at that point, I hadn't got calls in not even a call once a month. I don't really care. So I told her, sure, go right ahead. But that's my price, and I'm not going to change it. So she goes to my Google page and gives me a bad review. Well, it turns out that she called other companies, and they didn't want to deal with her either. So she still called me back and says, you know, I'll take the review away if you come do it for this price again. Whatever. I went to Google and I closed my page. I'm not going to be extorted. You're not going to extort me. But she figured that with her big city attitude, which, you know, I feel really bad that all these big city people have moved to places like Estero, because that's not your typical Estero customer. Your typical Estero customer, when I used to get a call on Estero, I wouldn't even give them a price. I would just go and do it because I know they'd pay right. But apparently, times have changed and the people that are living here are different now. But she thought that she could extort me with a bad review to doing this job for the price that she wanted, which was ridiculous. She gave me the bad review. I didn't care. I went and I closed my business. You know, as being a big-time YouTuber, my page was getting... Here's the thing that I really didn't like about my business page in Lee County. In Naples, my page got about 700 to 1,000 views a month. In Alabama, about the same. My page was getting 3,000 views a month in Lee County. Now, I'm a YouTuber, and your Google page has your home address. Do I, as a YouTuber, really want 3,000 people a month to see where I live? No, you don't. You know, that's definitely always kind of been unsettling to me. And when we had the problems in Alabama, remember in Alabama we had a bunch of problems? Well, they all stemmed from my address being on Google. So because my address was on Google Maps, they were able to see where I live, and that started a chain of events that was very unfortunate for us. So we knew that when we moved back to Florida, that having your Google address on the internet was a bad thing. It's good for your customer, because your customer, a lot of times the customer sees that, if a business is in the same neighborhood, same vicinity, then your customer's going to say, okay, let us use this guy because he's in the neighborhood that we're living in. And that's worked very well. It worked well in Naples, it worked well in Alabama, and to a smaller degree it kind of worked in Lehigh with a few customers we got. A lot of people like to use a guy from the neighborhood. They don't like to see a guy from out of town or another area. They're glad that you're a local guy. They want to help a local business, so that worked well. But it was a little unsettling having my address on the internet for all these months, especially when the page is getting 3,000 views a month, which is what, 100 people a day are seeing this. 100 people a day are seeing my page, and I'm pretty known here in Southwest Florida, so everybody in Southwest Florida knows where I live. It's like, not that people in Southwest Florida are bad, like in Alabama, but like I didn't want that, So I decided, you know what, man, I don't need it. It's really unfortunate that you would think that Lee County, being kind of a suburban area, so I would describe most of this county, it's kind of what makes money in the junk removal business. In Naples, my customers were suburban. In Alabama, my customers were suburban. You would think that this would be the perfect place for this type of business. But the reality is, I think, one, people here shop around. That's why the page is getting so many views. Because in other places, people, they look at the company, they find one that looks good, and they use it. But in Lee County, they'll look at 40 companies before they pick the one they're going to go with, and they're looking for the cheapest price. Now, that's why you have dumping all over Lee County, because if your companies that are doing junk removal are the cheapest guy, I mean, if you got your landfill fee, which doubled, and your fuel and your insurance and your profit, you can't do a job for $60 or $80 because you're losing out. So when you hire somebody to do a trash out and it should be worth $300 and you only pay them $120, they're not going to take it to the landfill. They're going to dump it. And that's why there's dumping all over these neighborhoods in Lehigh, because that's what they're doing. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to risk a felony, which is what it is. I'm not going to litter. I'm not going to dump. I'm not going to do a felony dumping because the customer doesn't want to pay for the service. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to live in a place where my business is being extorted by the customers and then go out there and keep fighting to see who does it cheaper. That's not the way I make a living. I'm not going to make a living like that. I'm going to live decently, So now this customer, and the way she dealt with me, she thought that I needed this job, and if I don't do it, I'm going to starve. But she doesn't know how much money I make, She doesn't know how I'm living. So it was just hilarious to watch her think that she was going to extort me out of my business, my work, with a bad review, It's all in text messages, and I took screenshots and I posted on my Google page, and I just think, you know what? I'm just gonna close this garbage. I don't need this crap in my life. This truck now, I bought it for work, and it's pretty much, I put some rims on it, I put a sound system in it, and the bump a little bit in the trunk, and it's a toy for me now, So I'm glad I don't need to pick up garbage. Would I like to do a trash out every once in a while? I like it, But I'm gone half the month on the road usually, so there's only 15 days of the month. And I had another guy in Lehigh that he was like, I got a trash out. I said, okay. This was a Spanish conversation, by the way, in Spanish. Oh, I tengo basura. I'm like, okay. I'm gone half the month. I'll be, so I'm not going to tell him I'm not home because my address is on the internet. That's not really brilliant right there. But I said, hey, bro, my schedule's full. I can do it in 2 weeks because I was on the road. I was up north somewhere. If you come right now, I'll give you money, man. I said, bro, I don't give a crap. I said, I scheduled you. If you don't want to do it on the schedule, then you can find somebody else. Well, he kept calling and like, trying to tell me how I needed to come today, and if I don't call today, you'll find somebody else. I don't need this in my life, bro. One thing that I loved about working for people in Alabama is that all these crappy customers that I dealt with here in Florida, you know, I work for people in forget about $3 million. I worked for a guy in a $7 or $8 million house, and this guy argued with me about $20 all the time. They're miserable, you know. I went to the barbershop today, got my nice little fade, whatever. Homie says, hey, it's 25. I say, here's 30, whatever, a little extra, you know. Bro, how am I gonna be in a $7 or $8 million house, and a guy comes in an old beat up truck to haul away a couch or bag a tile, and I'm gonna argue with the guy over $20? That's embarrassing, bro. But that's the type of people you got down here in Alabama. Now, I've talked a lot of garbage about Alabama, but let me tell you something that I like about Alabama that these people down here will never be able to do. It was smooth sailing in Alabama. In Alabama, I would call a customer would call me and they would say, Jose, man, I got this big old lawnmower back here, get it hauled away. And I'd say, it's $100. You know what they'd tell me? I'll give you $120. If you come today right now, I'll give you $120. Hook up the trailer, run over there. Show up there an hour later, 45 minutes later on my truck and trailer. Like, man, you like work? And I said, you saw me get here in 45 minutes? Come here and do this and da-da-da. And I would work for that guy. And then that guy would refer me to the guy next door. And the guy next door to his uncle. And the uncle to the grandma. And next thing I knew, I done worked for 50 of these rednecks in the woods. And every last one of them paid me the money that I asked plus more. I would work for one guy, then I would work for his neighbor, and they were all family. I'd work for one guy, the next thing I know, I'm on a farm in Alabama all by myself doing a 2-week-long job for people, and I'm there by myself, and I'm looking around like, dude, these people left me here by myself. I'm in Alabama on 150 acres all by myself, working in somebody's property, getting paid. How many loads did you do, Jose? You did 18 loads? Here you go. Boom, 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 boom. Cash money. Now I'm gonna write you a check or whatever. No. Cash money. Boom, 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 boom. So the beautiful thing about working in Alabama was how good the customers were and how well they paid. I only had 2 problems with my junk removal business in Alabama. Well, 3 problems, really. The last problem was that they stole my work equipment. So that was the end of the day. At that point, I quit. I was like, no, I'm done. And then we were already in the process of leaving Alabama, so that was a final nail in the coffin. You know, so criminality in Alabama, not my customers. My customers are great. I have no problems with my customers, by the way. My customers in Alabama were exceptional. It was the criminals that they saw my address on the internet and they saw, you know, they were trying to, you know, whatever. 2 problems in Alabama during the whole time, and I worked for a lot of people. One guy, ironically, had a 239 phone number from Fort Myers. So this guy was from down here in Fort Myers, and he was, you know, the same 239, the same type of thing. You worked for the guy, he didn't want to pay enough. I eventually got tired of working for him because the same, you know, he was trying to exploit you the same way they do down here. So I got tired of him because he was playing the same games. He wasn't even from, he was from here. So he was pulling the Southwest Florida cards on me. I got tired of working for him. I stopped working for him. Number 2 was a guy from Kentucky. So even though the job was in Alabama, the guy lived in Kentucky, and he ended up I went out to the job, and then he tried to say, oh, I'm going to pay you this much. And I said, no, you don't put the price. It's my business. I decide the price. Well, you know, he blah, blah, blah. But keep in mind, this guy's from Kentucky. So he wasn't from Alabama. And he was running a franchise. So, bro, in Alabama, I had great customers. And, you know, it's a shame. It really is a huge shame that I had to leave Alabama because I was providing an incredible service. The people that I was super pleased with my customer base in Alabama. They paid well. They respected me as a person. They trusted me. They were about business. The people in Alabama, it was a great place to have a business because they paid cash. Only that, they'd barter with you. Like I would work for somebody in Alabama, and I'd be like, "Yo, that car's sitting there." They'd be like, instead of paying you cash or whatever, you want to take that car with you? I got a title for it, and then we'd barter all the time. And you could barter with people. Like I was bartering with contractors. I was bartering with, like in Alabama, bartering is a huge thing. Like here in Florida, you don't want to do that with people. They'll get scared, They don't like that here. But in Alabama, they barter a lot. Like, you go work for somebody and you see something in the garage, you're like, yo, I noticed you got this in the garage. They'll be like, take it, And it was a beautiful customer relationship in Alabama that, unfortunately, here, I just don't have. And it culminates like this. Now, my YouTube's doing better. And I know a lot of you guys are asking me all the time, Jose, how do you make a living? How do you afford to travel and all? I hate that question because, our YouTube's doing good. We're doing good, okay? We're helping a lot of people, and does that mean you don't have to donate to my channel? No, please keep donating your money. I'll take it. But I really got tired of the customers down here just being so demanding, so little pay, miserable at times even, miserable, really miserable. And when the lockdown started and all this stuff started going around, I really thought to myself, like, man, I like what I do, but you're going to a landfill with this stuff going around. It was a little different. It was like, okay, I eventually got to get out of this because you can't live like this, you know what I mean? Wow, this car has no headlights on. There it is, guys. That's why I closed my business in Lee County, Florida. My YouTube's doing better. I got no problem doing trash outs. Me as a person, I'll go out there and I'll do it. But, I feel like life's giving me something that makes a little bit more money, a little bit better. I don't need it anymore. I made these huge investments into this business that didn't go anywhere. Customers don't want to pay enough. And ironically, on my drive home, we're about to pass the Lee County landfill. That right there is the Buckingham plant right there. That's the entrance to the landfill. And I pass by it every day on my way home. It would make sense. That's why even my family bought properties here. I bought property in Buckingham. My family's bought property in Buckingham because in the back of my head, I always thought I eventually wanted to live in Buckingham. I've been looking at Buckingham for years because from Naples, I would have to come to look at this truck. That's what I love about Buckingham. Look at that thing. Wow, lights underneath it and everything. It's so redneck out here. I love it, bro. I've always liked Buckingham. I'm driving home and it's nothing but like jacked up trucks, one after the other. I love Buckingham. It's called the landfill, which was how I used to make a living. I would have to come to Buckingham 2 times a week, 2 times a day sometimes, 5 days a week when I was busy in Naples, So that's why my family bought property here and I bought property here because we wanted to, because of my business, I thought it made sense to be here. But there just isn't, the problem is there's too much competition, and the competition, they'll hire somebody to work for $10 an hour. I'm a business owner. I can't work for $10 an hour. But these big companies, they hire for $10 an hour. And there was even one company, they got sued. They had a class action lawsuit against them because they were only paying their employees something like $10 an hour, like minimum wage. But on top of that, they weren't even paying them for all their commute time. They were only paying them for like the runs and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, there was a class action lawsuit against one of my competitors down here because they weren't even treating their employees right. So go figure. yeah, if you're gonna start a business in Lee County, Florida, I would advise you to make that business happen in Naples. This place is not conducive to a good, successful business. There's just not enough customers. The customers you do have don't want to pay enough. And I know it offends people when I say that, but that's my personal opinion. I feel like in Lee County, people are cash strapped. They don't have money. They're paying for the mortgage, they're paying the rent, they're paying the car loans. They got to commute all the way to Naples. They're up to here, bro. And on top of that, they have a very bad culture. There's a very bad culture pertaining to paying people for work in Southwest Florida. You know, that was a tow truck that just passed. I hired a tow truck here, and the guy only charged me like $130. And I was like, dude, in the back of my head, I was like, dude, in Naples it was $200, in Alabama it was $200, but the guy here, he's doing it for $130. So it's like, you know, you got a huge insurance, you got a huge piece of equipment. You ought to be getting. I almost felt like telling the guy, like, dude, I feel like you should be getting paid more, you know. But then when I went to pay him the $130, he goes, oh, but you know it's $130. Like, he thought I was gonna like try to talk him down or something, and I wasn't. I would never do that. I don't like doing that, bro. Like, I think people need to get paid whatever they're worth and whatever they think they're worth. And if you don't like it, find somebody else. But don't. I hate when people are stingy and they don't want to pay you for your services what they're worth, you know. And but at the end of the day, that's where we are. People don't want to pay for services, and I'm definitely not going to be the one to work for less. So yeah, that's why I closed my Lee County business. There just wasn't enough business here, and I wish the customers here were like the ones I had in Alabama, because I was on track to become a millionaire up there. Checking out from beautiful Buckingham, Florida.